the open mic. Anybody want to comment on the presentations that have been made this morning on the pension section?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Eric Feaver, MEA-MFT. We represent approximately 18,000 public employees in school districts, university system, state government, county government. So a whole lot of folks who pay my salary are interested in the proceedings of this legislature when it comes to their retirement benefit. It is MEA-MFT's position that a defined contribution construct is a very bad idea. Not only is it too expensive for this state to actually adopt, it's not a pension. It'll never be a pension, and it will always effectively sacrifice our members and all state and public employees to the vagaries of the marketplace. That's a very bad idea, and I don't think, frankly, the legislature should continue to talk about it, but it will, because it is the legislature, and the legislature never stops talking about, frankly, bad ideas. That's kind of the legislative thing. We have worked very hard over a long time to sustain a viable defined benefit plan for state and school employees, and we will continue to do that. We do believe, however, we've come to a junction point, which you are, of course, talking about right now, where we have to, as employees, face our responsibility to helping the state and the taxpayers of the state meet the encumbrance that we must meet. We do not want to, however, disaggregate the obligation and place all the burden on new hires. First, it's just not fair to do so. And secondly, we could basically make it impossible for anybody to want to be a new hire, because in order to really have that make a large enough difference to change their benefit structure and their contributions, it would have to be so great they would run in fright from the state. So that makes no sense. We would, however, with some new hires, well, all new hires, in fact, we would, I believe, with good judgment, change the final average salary for all, and this would be across the board for all retirement in para and in TRS to a 5-year FAS. We would agree to a 55 and 5 early retirement. We would support elimination of the 25-year retirement in the teacher's retirement system without penalty, something that we give up very, very reluctantly, because it was this union that brought that proposal before this legislature back in 1983. But it can't be funded anymore under the terms of our current situation. We think a rule of 90, 60, 30 for full retirement makes some sense. And we think that maintaining, for instance, a graduated multiplier, of course in TRS there is no graduated multiplier, it's the same for everybody. It's 1.67% no matter what. We think that could be changed and should be changed. We have long advocated that new hires should have a 2% multiplier at 30 years, and we had a bill in the last session that would have done that, and it would have been fully funded, at least for them. It would not have addressed the instant issue of unfunded liability in teachers' retirement system, but it would not have in any way detracted from new hire capacity, and it would have provided something we've needed for a long time, well before the market crashed, and that is related to the 25-year retirement. The fact is, we were seeing before the market crashed some of our best and brightest experienced teachers retiring at 25 years and moving elsewhere and taking their expertise for another 10 years to Washington or Oregon or Nevada. And that will pick up again as those states begin to recover from the economic recession. That's a bad idea, to see great quality leave our state. It was a brain drain. And so that was why we have always supported, now more recently, a 2% multiplier at 30 years. But we will not support any change in the guaranteed annual benefit adjustment for any public employee, certainly not a downward change. And I think you've already heard a good reason why you aren't likely to do that without suffering immediate litigation. And I don't think MEA-MFT would have to file the lawsuit. I think every retiree and every current member of the retirement systems, they would all be filing the lawsuit. In fact, they wouldn't file a lawsuit. They'd just be standing out here on, the lawn. And you would then think differently of doing that. We won't support a hybrid system. We didn't in the last session. And the governor, to his great credit, saved you from yourselves, and he vetoed Senate Bill 54, which did pass both the House and Senate. It was an unfortunate attempt on your part, and I hope you don't repeat that. It's not necessary to do that. But when it comes to everybody in the system, with the exception of new hires and PERS, who are in fact now paying 1% more than everybody who had already been employed by under the PERS system before July 1 of last year. With the exception of those new hires, we will support an increase in employer and employee contributions. In fact, if you did that in the teacher's retirement system at 1%, 1% for the state, 1% for the employee, for all current and new hires, you would eliminate this unfunded liability question you have in front of you. And we wouldn't be talking about this extraordinary fiscal impasse. That's a very heavy load to pick up, but we are committed to going forward with doing that. The upside of that is it does not impair benefit. The benefit stays the same, although we would hope that you would have a 2% multiplier at 30 years, because you could do that very easily under those terms. I think you're in better position, and I've practiced law before this legislature for almost 30 years without a license and gotten away with it. So since I don't take any compensation for my legal opinions, I think you're in a whole lot better situation causing contributions to rise for the employer and employee than you are in trying to reduce benefits. At least you can make a better argument. And I think you've already heard a really great presentation on the legal ramifications of all this, and so, you'll have to judge for yourselves whether that is a sound legal opinion of my own, but you could try it, and at least this union will support you in that. Now, I don't know exactly what's happening in June, and Amy has suggested that that's one of the options you'll consider in June, which is to split contribution increases between employer and employee. Let me tell you this, we will not support an employee contribution increase that does not have an employer contribution of equal value. So it has to be a shared responsibility, a shared investment in pensions for public employees across the board. We get it. And then perhaps members of the committee, not just perhaps, you should, place some sort of trigger mechanism in it. If in fact we reach the actuarial nirvana that we want to reach, or we're within all of those factors that say we're okay by GASB or whoever else decides we're okay, then those contributions for both the employer and the employee are reduced. So it isn't like in perpetuity we would just increase contributions. Members of the committee, we've done some dramatic things in retirement over the years, and they've almost all been predicated on increasing benefits. Those benefits have value. There's a reason why people receive those benefits. It is a part of our whole notion that it's once you're hired in the state of Montana or you're hired as a county employee or a school employee, it's for a career. And when you retire, you will actually have a pension that will see you to your last days. That's how it ought to be, not just for state and county and school employees. That's how it ought to be for all Americans, frankly. Every last one of us. But until such time as we achieve that, this union that represents the people who in fact have that now, we aren't giving it up, but we're willing to share in the pain as we preserve that for the future. Thank you.